The sky ripped open with a blinding flash of light, and suddenly the Justice League found themselves falling through a storm unlike anything they had ever seen, a storm of fire, smoke, and whispers that seemed alive, twisting reality itself as if the universe had turned against them. Superman struggled against the invisible weight pressing down, his eyes scanning a horizon filled with jagged spires and ruined cities where shadows moved with unnatural intent. And Batman's mind raced, calculating every possible threat as the ground shook under distant explosions, while Wonder Woman's senses screamed that something dark and ancient watched them from the smoke. A power far older and crueler than any enemy they had faced on Earth. And Flash zipped ahead to scout, only to disappear into the thick, rolling fog of warp energy, leaving a trail of sparks and unanswered questions. As they landed, the air buzzed with a strange metallic tang, and the distant rumble of machinery grew louder until monstrous war engines appeared, towering over the crumbling ruins, their weapons pulsing with deadly light. And from the depths of a shattered city block, creatures with claws, teeth, and eyes full of hunger emerged, moving with horrifying coordination. And the League realized with a chill that these were not mere monsters, but soldiers bred for war, trained without mercy, their armor shining even under the cursed skies. And before they could react, a deafening roar split the air as a massive Tyranid warrior lunged from the shadows, faster and stronger than anything Superman had fought, smashing through debris and scattering soldiers as its biomass shifted and writhed like liquid steel. And in that instant, Batman spotted a sigil burned into the wall, a twisting mark that radiated corruption and promised devastation beyond imagination, and Wonder Woman tightened her grip on her sword, sensing that this was only the beginning, that survival alone would demand everything they had and more, that the grimdark universe they had stumbled into would test them in ways no hero could anticipate. And as the first shots of las guns and bolters rang out, scattering the creatures and the debris alike, the Justice League understood with sudden clarity that they were not just in a battlefield, they were in a war for existence. A war where the rules of their universe no longer applied. And as the shadows shifted and the roar of an even greater threat echoed from the distance, the unspoken question hung in the air like a blade. Could they survive, or were they already too late? As the Tyranid warrior crashed through the rubble, scattering terrified civilians and shattering reinforced walls, Superman flew forward with all his strength, but even his fists met with armor that seemed to absorb his blows, sparks flying with each impact, and Flash darted through the battlefield, trying to understand the movement patterns of these creatures, and the strange humans in heavy armor who fought with precision and deadly efficiency. The Space Marines' bolters erupting in rhythmic fire, their disciplined coordination unlike anything the League had seen, while Batman used the chaos to flank a group of lesser Tyranids, planting small explosives and whispering calculations of angles and timing, knowing that a single misstep could cost them all. And Wonder Woman clashed with a monstrous creature whose claws tore through reinforced steel, each strike forcing her to parry and redirect with strength and skill, sensing that these enemies were not just physically powerful but driven by an intelligence born of war, a brutal instinct honed over centuries. And as the battle raged, a deafening sound split the air. A massive war engine, a Land Raider, emerged from the smoke, its guns spinning and firing with terrifying accuracy, cutting a path through both monsters and Space Marines alike, forcing Superman and Flash to take cover, while Batman's eyes caught movement atop the ruins, a figure in dark, spiked armor observing the battle, radiating a power that made even the Space Marines hesitate, and he recognized the sigil he had seen earlier glowing faintly on its chest, a sign that chaos was manipulating events from the shadows, feeding the battlefield with monsters and war machines. And as Wonder Woman shouted for retreat to regroup, the ground trembled under another shockwave. Something even larger, older and hungrier was coming, and the League realized that surviving this world would require more than strength, speed, or skill. It would demand understanding the rules of a universe that had no mercy, that thrived on war, corruption, and death. And as the figure in black disappeared into the smoke, leaving only a whisper of laughter, a chilling thought gripped them all. This was no ordinary battle, and the true enemy had yet to reveal itself. The battlefield trembled as the Justice League and the Space Marines struggled to hold their ground, the screams of monsters and the thunder of bolters mixing with the wails of warp energy that seemed to twist reality itself. And Superman realized that brute strength alone would not be enough. Every punch, every leap, even his heat vision met with resistance from armor, creatures, and forces that seemed almost alive while Flash zipped between explosions, trying to disrupt the Tyranids' coordinated assault, only to see new waves emerge from tunnels that appeared from nowhere, as if the battlefield itself was alive and feeding the conflict. And Wonder Woman clashed with a squad of corrupted Space Marines, their eyes glowing with a sinister light, their movements precise yet unnatural, making her wonder how much of this war had been orchestrated by something beyond mere armies. And Batman darted between shadows, setting traps and gathering intel, his mind racing as he pieced together the dark strategy behind every attack. Noticing that the Chaos Sigil appeared not only on the armor of enemies but etched into the ruins, burning faintly, pulsing with dark power that seemed to warp the very air, and as the League regrouped atop a crumbling spire, a colossal figure descended from the clouds, a demon of unimaginable size, wings spread wide, eyes blazing with malice, and a voice that echoed in every mind, declaring that all life would kneel before the 41st Millennium. And in that moment, the heroes understood the terrifying truth. Survival would not come from fighting alone. It would come from strategy, sacrifice, and alliances they never thought possible. And as Superman flew forward to confront the demon, a sudden tremor split the ground beneath him, revealing a hidden portal swirling with warp energy, and from it came the faint sound of voices. Friends? Enemies? And Batman's voice crackled over the comm. We're running out of time. And the real war is just beginning. The grim horizon burned with fire as the Justice League and the Space Marines fought side by side, a fragile alliance born of necessity, and Batman's mind raced as he deciphered the patterns of chaos sigils scattered across the battlefield, realizing they formed a ritual meant to tear open the fabric of reality itself. While Superman and Wonder Woman held the line against waves of Tyranids, each strike of her sword and his fists barely making a dent in the relentless swarm, and Flash, moving faster than the eye could follow, darted through warp-tainted streets to sabotage enemy reinforcements, only to encounter a figure in corrupted power armor who moved with eerie familiarity, their voice distorted and mocking, hinting at secrets the League could not yet understand. And as the demon from the clouds circled above, its massive wings generating storms of warp energy that sent debris flying like missiles, the sky itself seemed to bleed and twist, warping time and space around them. And Wonder Woman's eyes widened in horror as civilians and soldiers alike were pulled into rifts opening in the ground, screaming as they vanished into unknown dimensions. And Batman's warning came just in time. This isn't just a battlefield, it is a trap, designed to break us before the final strike. And before they could respond, a titanic shadow emerged from the portal Flash had discovered, a Chaos Titan towering above everything, its weapons blazing with warp fire, eyes glowing with malevolent intelligence. And Superman felt the weight of despair pressing down as the League realized that even their combined powers might not be enough to survive. And yet, a glimmer of strategy sparked in Batman's mind, a way to turn the enemy's ritual against them. But it would demand a choice no hero wanted to make, a sacrifice that could decide the fate of not just this world, but all realities. And as the Titan raised its colossal fist to strike, the heroes braced themselves, knowing the next few moments would determine whether they would live, die, or become legends whispered across the Grimdark universe. The battlefield erupted into chaos as the Chaos Titan slammed its massive fist into the ground, sending shockwaves that cracked the ruined city and threw both heroes and Space Marines off balance. And Superman, fueled by sheer determination, launched himself at the towering enemy, fists glowing with heat vision energy, while Wonder Woman led fleeing civilians to safety, her sword cutting through twisted beasts that sprang from the warp like nightmares made real. And Flash raced along the battlefield at impossible speed, dismantling key parts of the Titan's war engines while leaving behind afterimages to confuse the enemy. And Batman, ever calculating coordinated attacks and traps with the Space Marines, using their disciplined firepower to exploit the Titan's blind spots. And as the Titan roared in fury, the corrupted figure from earlier revealed itself fully, once a hero, now a servant of chaos, wielding power that rivaled the League's combined might, forcing them to make split-second choices between saving allies, striking enemies, and preserving the fragile reality around them. And in a desperate gambit, Batman triggered a chain reaction of the chaos sigils they had deciphered, turning the warp energy against the Titan and the demon above, the ground trembling, the sky splitting with fire and shadow. And as the final explosion of warp energy engulfed the battlefield, a deafening silence followed, broken only by the labored breaths of those who survived. And when the smoke cleared, the League stood bloodied and exhausted, The Space Marines silent but wary, and a single figure lay missing from their ranks, leaving a haunting question lingering in the air. They had survived, yes, but at what cost, and were they truly safe? Or had the Grimdark 41st Millennium only just begun its next, more terrible chapter?